you, mistress. Thank you so much for showing the fuck up today. I appreciate you. Okay, we are live. Hello, Miss Ramirez. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am blown the fuck away by some of my actions, but other than that, I seem to be okay.
Let me drink some. Ouch. Cheers. Cheers. Right. Guys, if you guys are watching.
Yes. Good morning. Good Sunday morning, right?
Yes,
Sunday
it's full of laughter.
Go to meeting morning.
We started this with laughing, so it's like great.
That's always a good sign, right? Yeah. Well, let's take care of a little bit of business for Body Studios. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So today we have like some events that are going on. We have Galentine's that'll start at 11 a.m. because I love to promote morning drinking. And we have mimosas and sangria.
That's awesome. Come.
Because lonely women need to drink. No.
Come on, all you single women.
This is more about like celebrating, you know what I mean? Like this is like, you know, I'm empowered. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and do like a feng shui workshop. Dawn and I will do that, right? We'll probably blow everybody's mind like we always do, but it'll be really a lot of fun because I like stuff like that. So in this one, Dawn said, she goes, let's let them paint their patterns. What that does is it starts the energy in the space, right? For wherever they're at. So those are the things that we're doing today. Anyway, okay. I'm not good at segueing. I just realized that. I just realized it just all came at once. It's like, that's not a very good segue.
Oh,
it's just an abrupt stop, and then we're going to change the subject.
You know, I was recording a podcast on Wednesday with my friend, and I was like, before we started, I'm like, this is the topic, like super spontaneous. They're gonna join, like, let's stick to an hour, right? It literally went to like 2.5 hours. I was like, we got to redo this and stick to an hour.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so these conversations that we've been talking about having, right? Because like that's what this platform is for, is to have those difficult conversations, right? And well, they're difficult for white people. Let's say it that way, okay?
Yeah, we're definitely going to have conversations where it feels like conversations where people are thinking about it, but they're not sharing it, right? Or they're thinking about it and they're only sharing it to like their close people. But it's like those like elephant in the room. Let's bring it into the surface. Conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so there's like, I've been stepping all over my tongue for a while, trying to have conversations, and I'm learning that that's like how you have to do it. Like, you just have to say shit. You just have to say shit.
Yeah, even if it doesn't make sense, just let it
even though you're uncomfortable as fuck, you just got to say shit.
Yeah.
You have to say shit. You have to open a conversation and show people that you're open to having interaction. Yeah. So I think the first time that was really visceral for me, I was at a healer circle, and there were a lot of indigenous women that were practicing at that healer circle. And it was really, I really liked it. I had a really good time. Other than that, it all started this way. Okay. We were sitting at a table. We were sitting at a dining table, and everybody was in a conversation other than me. I was not in this conversation because I hadn't seen the Disney movie that they were talking about. And the Disney movie that they were talking about had to do with how you could tell the correlation of the children who were religiously schooled, the indigenous population, how the Native Americans were taken and like colonized, right? And so it's like about that, and it talks about how like the white guy came back and then he tried to make it right and everything, and they're having this big conversation about this and how they're happy that the movie is showing things like this. And I'm thinking to myself, I go, how do I talk? What do I say? How do I get in this conversation? I want to know about this. This is great. You guys are just so open. You're so open. Everybody's so open.
Yeah.
How come I'm afraid? Why am I afraid? And I
Yeah.
was so afraid. And I really was sitting there. I probably sat there for like 15, 20 minutes, like
Mm.
trying to figure out, like, what I could say. And then after that, I made an announcement because,
You made an announcement.
because like there's like, 15, 20 people there. And I figure I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna fall on the sword. It's easier. And then that way I'll just tell you who I am. And if you don't want to talk to me, I'm good. But like at least I have it out there, right?
Yeah.
So I was really in a lot of fear. My body was starting to shake even. But like I said, hey, you know what? You guys were having a conversation over there at the table because we segued from there and then we were going to be in our groups, right? And so I told him, I said, hey, you know what? You guys were over there and you were in a conversation and I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you and I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know how to talk to you without feeling like I'm appropriating something. I don't know how to talk to you and address you and call you by what you'd prefer. I don't know. And so here I am. I'm just like crying and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they're all looking at me and they're like, look at this white chick having a fucking meltdown.
Aww.
But they had like so much.
What I was going to ask you to before that is like, oh yeah, right when you're in the circle with those women and you can feel all of that arising, right? Why does it feel so hard for us to be like, hey, just want to point out the elephant in the room? Like, I really want to join the conversation, yet like it feels very uncomfortable. Like, why? Right? Because I'm pretty sure I've been in those spaces too. Like, I wonder why it's so hard for us just be present in that space, saying, hey, I'm being really vulnerable right now, and this is how I'm feeling, but I want to say hi. You guys are doing great.
You know what I noticed? Okay, so I've been studying this for a while. So I'm so desperate. I'm so desperate to start these conversations that I bought a game called Disparity. It's a disparity game, okay? And it teaches you about how people who are not white, how they have like less offers, less availability, they have less opportunity, okay? They're just provided with less fucking opportunity right off the bat. Now, I know that this sounds really retarded. Okay, so I'm going to make a lot of politically incorrect statements. You can go ahead and put your motherfucking comments down and school my ass, and I'll be happy with that. I will be totally happy with that. And then I will do my best to be as respectful as possible.
Yeah.
So with this, it's just like there's like a lot of comments already. I'm not looking at the comments.
Ladies, love you guys. Oh,
okay. All right. So anyway, so I buy this game and I'm trying to figure out like how I'm gonna play this game, like on game night. Like I'll do it with Parcheesi, like I don't know. And so just different things like that, right? So with these conversations, I've been like wondering why it's difficult for me to get vulnerable in front of somebody. And mostly what it is that I'm admitting conditioning that I have been taught as I'm white. That's what really, it just like trips me out. So when I'm in a conversation, like there's a lot of conditioning that goes into people who are raised white. Okay. If you're raised white, if you're raised European, however it is you want to look at it, it happens across the board for all families. So it isn't restricted to color. I'm speaking from my perspective and my skin color.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for my race.
Yeah.
I don't like them right now.
The amount of like, okay, it's so weird because we've had these conversations like behind, where you mentioned certain comments about like, being white and I don't like them right now and this and that.
Oh man,
so
right?
I'm like, white people say that, like that's great.
I'm supposed to have pride, but you know what? If I have too much pride, I'm going to look like a white supremacist.
Okay, but
that's no. This is my head, though, Narita. This isn't like what actually is going to take place.
Of course, but I want to add where it's like, it's interesting because it's like, where's the boundary where, what if people were proud to be white? It becomes, oh, now you're a KKK, you're against all the other cultures. Yet we have so many other cultures where it's like, I'm proud to be Mexican. I am very proud to be Latina.
I
I'm
wanted to
very
be Mexican,
proud to
but
be
I
African
didn't want to be when
American.
I was growing up.
Say it again.
I wanted to be a Mexican. I wanted to be Mexican when I was growing up because, like, that was the
Yeah.
predominant race in my neighborhood, right? But I didn't want to. I don't want to dress up like a wannabe. That's what they were called at that time, wannabes. We
Yeah.
moved away from a lot of very derogatory slang, right?
Wannabe. I remember that too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you think it starts with kids? Do you think it starts with kids? Like, I can see that there's like conditioning. Like when I was raised, okay, so I know that this phrase is said in different contexts and connotation inside of every home when you have to be careful, right? And it's like, make sure you don't go down into that area after dark, or you don't want to be caught alone over there. Different things like that. And it's said in every household. It's not just a white household. It's not just a brown household. It's none of that. It's every household, but we have different reasons for creating that conversation. And so, like, if we start to take apart that particular conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was make sure that you're not in a poor part of town, in a bad part of town. And so for me, it was like gang related. I would look at gangs. Okay, maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with gangs, but naturally that's where I was. Anyway, so like those things.
Which is a whole other conversation for another like video. I don't know how you got there.
Different conversation.
How'd you get there? Sorry, go ahead.
I told you I didn't want to be white. I don't know how long this has been going on though.
So then that's what you were told growing up, like stray away from those neighborhoods.
Right. Well, to stay away from those, and the connotation was because my dad my dad grew up he was born in Texas. And so he was not exactly a Southern boy, but he was a Southern gentleman. Okay. So a Southern gentleman is going to tell you things like, I'm going to teach you a phrase that like is appalling. Okay. It's appalling. And so this is a phrase that you will hear in the background at like I would say probably in the 70s, 60s, 70s. All right. And so one of them was like, women glow, men perspire, and anybody else sweats. Okay. And so it's a very derogatory term to show inferior, superior sort of separation. Like this person, like women are not going to work as hard as men, and anybody else who's working harder than that are not considered humans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So in those statements that are made, we may not feel like it might be a joke or something like that somebody was saying at that time. And so now we're learning that is not appropriate. However, at the time it was very accepted because that's how openly we were just very open about how we would say stuff like that. And then like the N word has always been like a bad word. Like we're not allowed to use it. So we would use it, behind our parents' backs and stuff like that, because it felt like, oh, we were breaking the law. Right. And we like to break the law as children. So we didn't never know what it meant. We never knew what it meant at that time, but we were taught that that's not an appropriate word. Or like my dad, like I didn't think that my dad was racist until I started unpacking all of this shit.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's so crazy. I had this friend and I met up with him a couple years ago, and now he's like in his early 30s, but it was a conversation like this too, where he was like, growing up, my parents always made us feel like we were like superior above everybody else. And he always made comments in the house of like the Indians, the Mexicans, like the blacks. And he was like, it was just so normal. So I knew kind of to like be different from them. But he was like, I hit college and all of my friends were Mexican, black. And I realized like, oh, my dad was wrong. like that's super racist.
Right?
Like they're actually smart, like they're independent, like they're hardworking. So it's like everything that his dad was saying of what they were not true. You know, and we were talking, he had kind of like feelings towards his dad because of it, because his dad's still the same way. But
Yeah.
it's like for him, like as an adult, he couldn't comprehend like why such that type of disconnection or superior part of it.
Exactly. Exactly. What I
Yeah,
find myself doing, like when I'm in these conversations, I create these conversations because I'm uncomfortable.
yeah, I love it. I totally love it.
Well, I've learned that if I'm uncomfortable, an action needs to be taken so that way I'm not feeling that any longer.
Yeah,
Sometimes I have to check a trigger. Sometimes, there's just a lot that I do a lot before I like really fall all over myself. So
yeah.
the other day we had our moon magic circle. Okay.
Mhm.
And there were two women of color that were there. And the whole time I'm stuttering, even in my channel, because I'm afraid that I'm going to chase them away because I'm white. I'm too white. Okay. That's just in my head. It's just
Mhm.
it's in my head.
Yeah,
Nobody knows what I'm thinking,
yeah.
but it's in my head. And it is starting to create this filter that I'm looking through that I can't stop. Like, oh my gosh, I better watch how blah, 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 blah. And I just stop what I'm doing. And I
Uh-huh.
go, hey, you know what? I get really nervous when there's new people here. And so I start with that tactic. And I said, but more than that, okay, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing to you and have you think that, like I said, because let's face it, I'm white. And everybody starts cracking up. And
We
I
did,
didn't
yeah.
realize, I didn't
Yeah.
realize, I didn't realize that, this is like, it needs to be said like a lot, apparently, because
I
like it's
fucking
obvious
love
to
you
me.
so much.
It's obvious to me. It's obvious to me that like something had to change. And it's all of my conditioning from when I was growing up. Like, don't go down that alley. Oh my gosh, what's happening over there? And then you have whispers. And then when we went to go and buy a house, like they're like, oh, you don't want to be in that neighborhood. You want to be over in this neighborhood. Hey, you know what? I
Mm,
found out that that's what redlining is. Okay. And I
okay.
didn't know that's what that was. So in the 30s, what happened was is that there was a law that was made that every person of color had to be segregated and put into a certain neighborhood. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
what they did was they created they said that everybody of color who lives in this neighborhood is a credit risk. So they redlined them. So they made everyone a credit risk. They didn't pay any attention to their income, how hard they worked, what their capability was. It had nothing to do with that. So this law goes into place. This law was in place for not very long, but these practices are still being done.
Happen. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so having conversations about this, about how do we change that, right? How do
Yeah.
we change that so that way when we move forward, other people can have like the same opportunities that I was afforded. And you know what? I fucked a lot of mine off and I didn't realize what a privilege it was to be able to have the opportunities that were given to me. And I think that has to do with like a discard sort of um like, oh, it's okay, I can get more. It's okay, I can get more.
Oh, okay, okay. So do you
Right?
think that it's because you're in this page of this spade space of privilege and kind of being white that it was that you kind of inherently
I like kind of being white.
that
Oh, sorry.
you that
Go
you
ahead.
kind of inherently already like always knew that there's always going to be more. Like you always
Yeah,
had the opportunities available to you.
exactly. Exactly. And that's because I always knew that. I was always told you could have
Yeah.
anything, you could be anything, everything will work out for you. I
Yeah.
wasn't taught that I had to fear the police. I wasn't taught that they were my friends either. I wasn't taught that they were my friends, but I also wasn't taught to fear them.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I
And
know,
I
like,
didn't.
for, like, African Americans, right? Like, I always hear those conversations with their little ones of like, "Hey, like, let me just teach you how this works with them," or something along the lines, right? Of like, here's
Right.
a
We have to have, yeah, we have to have something in place so that way they don't get killed. or I don't get killed or anyone gets killed, I think that's a little ridiculous. I think that that is the fear that I'm talking about right now. I think that that fear is so deep seated that we really need to unpack where we're coming from, because those triggers are so deep, they're getting people killed, right? Because like, I understand that the police have the ability to use force. All right. I understand that. However, they also have the ability to use common sense, compassion, kindness.
Yeah.
And I would like to see more of
that. Like, I think with a little bit like in the same way, it's like people who work in fields like that, it's like they need extra training and extra mental health, some type of like resources, because it's like you're in a constant trigger, fight or flight, like your life's in danger mode. Like,
Yeah.
like it just, you can't keep showing up, right? And expect that they have to be peaceful. It's like they need help, right? But at the same time, it's like, why are we having this narrative of like how to protect ourselves from the cops, right? When it's like we were placed there to protect us, and yet we're having constant conversations of.
Well, I'll tell you why. Wait. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why there is an inherent fear of the police, because they come from the militia. Okay. And the militia was started in the South, in the Confederacy.
Yeah.
And we're called a police state first. So yeah, you have every right to be fucking scared. Go figure that shit. Okay. Go figure that shit. All right. There's like so many things. Like, I was watching a comedian, okay, and I really love her, and she's talking about how we should have like White History Month, maybe with some of the things that Matt, you'll have something to say about that, Vanessa.
You're not Mexican. You are to me.
I love you. Okay, so like just silly stuff like that. Now, where was I? What was I talking about? Well, you go. It's your turn.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you, right? It's like, okay, well, how do we start to even. Well, I have two questions. One, what was the outcome of the moon circle? Like, everybody laughed, but what happened?
You know what? Okay, so one of the young ladies came to me and she goes, "I'm so happy that you said everything that you said, because that's how I feel. And I don't know when I go into a place, like how to talk, like what to do, because like I'm just in this. I know that I want to be here for my spirituality, but like what does that look like to everybody present?" And I really love, like, that particular group was very diverse. It was extremely diverse. All right. And I just kind of looked at the room and I felt super blessed, because I'm in alignment with that. And that made me feel like maybe I'm doing something right, So so I had an interaction after, and that was like really good. And the other girl, she's just like, yeah, okay, that's Lucy.
She knows you.
She's going through it.
Like, it's okay. So I remember when I was in college, one of my professors was telling us how he was from Tennessee, right? And then he came over here and he lived here, whatever. But he had this African American friend, and he was telling her his experience going from like a very white kind of neighborhood to now you're in Southern California, and like there's a lot of color, right? And like, and then he was saying like, okay, like it's interesting, whatever. And he was like, I still don't understand like the struggle that you're going through, right? Because of your color, whatever. And it's so funny because apparently they went into like an elevator and it was just him, and everybody else was like African American or Black. And all she did, she whispered, like, does it feel awkward? And he was like, very. And she was like, this is what it feels like every day. It's like, oh shoot, like you got a little.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm fucking talking about. And it shouldn't, but it does. It feels awkward, and I want to have those conversations, because like I've been conditioned through like watching the news, watching different programming, right? Because like it's been predominantly whitewashed, right?
Oh yeah,
I'm not wrong. Right? I'm not wrong about that, right? I just kind of noticed there was a bunch of white people on TV.
Yeah.
Damn, here we go again. No. Right? Okay. All right. So this is a good start for us. What don't you think? This is a good start?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So next week what we'll do is we'll come back, okay? And we'll maybe open the floor up a little bit more because we wanted to get really clear and we wanted you guys to know that this is a really open conversation because it's
Yeah.
time. It's time for us to set aside our fears of talking to somebody of a different skin color, right? Or at least for me it is. For me it is. I feel this push
Yeah.
for like this synergy for oneness. I just feel that this is like communication is going to be the biggest key, right?
Yeah. And it's like good to I'm loving that we're having these conversations because it's conversations that I also have with like close friends. And it's very interesting, right? Because like I have a friend, hopefully I can share this, but it's like she feels very uncomfortable with white people, right? And for a while, like a couple weeks ago, we went day drinking and I've always been known to be like white, right? Like I'm Mexican, but I'm very like whitewashed and like I've always like white
You get
people.
called coconut.
Yes, I do. I
Right.
totally do.
Yes, I
And,
got it.
and a couple weeks ago, we were drinking and she was mentioning how for a while she was uncomfortable with me because she was like, you always have their back. Like, why is it that you're always on their side? Like, why aren't you connected to your roots? And it was a really good conversation because it felt like we were day drinking the whole day, but it's like that whole day, it felt like it cleared out so many of this stuff that it's like, oh, I didn't even know this was a problem. Not a problem, but a thing. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
know that that's what he held back in our friendship or whatever, right? But
Right.
in that, like, she was mentioning to me, like, oh, like, why aren't you connected to your roots? Like, I think I've always had like something like mad with you or whatever. And even when I was talking to her, I was like, like I'm Mexican, but it's like I wasn't raised in a very hardcore Hispanic background.
No.
Like, I was never really taught like I don't know the immigration struggle. Like when I came into the picture, my parents had papers. So it's like, no, I don't know what it's like to have parents who are always looking out for their back. Like I don't know what it's like to not be able for them to get like jobs or financial, like all of that. It's like I don't know that struggle. And it was
Right.
super interesting because even to say that, like it made me feel a little guilty, like, "Oh, I can't connect to this part of my culture, and I never will be able to." But at the same time, it's like I have to own my story and, like, my own upbringing, right? And
Right.
it's like, I wanna have those conversations because it's like, how many of those people too are out there who also don't know those struggle, yet they're Mexican, right? Like,
Right.
they're Hispanic, they're Latino, and it's
But
like
yet again, here you are talking about something that's creating separation for you from
yeah,
your roots. And really what it is that these are triggers. These are the triggers that we need to like look through because it will reveal how conditioned we are. And it might be a favorite Nickelodeon show that we watched. Do you get what I'm saying? It
yeah,
could be something like that. It could be something so innocuous that we will not see it. It could be how we're taught in school. It could be so many different things. So
yeah. I
you talking
remember
about that struggle, right?
I
That's
was gonna
pretty
say, like, it's funny because I never realized it, like, she'd always mention here stuff like, "Oh, like, you're white, why are you guys, like, hanging out with white people in high school?" But I didn't realize it until Trump and Hillary were, like, running for president, and I remember
okay,
being in college, and I think he was, like, winning, and I was like, "Oh, shit, like, I'm Mexican. Like, I am a person of color," like and it was the first time ever that I felt unsafe being a person of color.
right?
Right, and again, it's like those little triggers that you're talking about, it's like, it brings up so much because in that space, it made me open up of, "Dang, like, how many people feel this way every single day?" And I'm
Every
here, like, feeling
all
it
day,
for, like, a second, right?
right?
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna be
This is
great.
a good conversation. There's so much, right? There's so much.
Yeah, there
Okay,
is.
so maybe what we'll do is I'll look up some white phrase, okay,
Okay,
that we're taught, okay,
okay. Yeah.
okay, because I have a bunch of them.
You didn't have to look it up.
Well, I should. No. All right. And
Okay.
then like anybody else who wants to go ahead and join in and you guys want to like talk about something, if there's a subject that you have that's difficult for you to talk to other people about, right? we're opening up the race card. That's what we're doing. We want to create oneness because we like that song Imagine.
Yes.
Kumbaya, my Lord, kumbaya. And you know that's a French Creole song, by the way.
Oh. That goes out the window. Just kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
Just there it is, right? Exactly. Yeah, I know, because I went through it with them, and thank God for all their hard work. Exactly, right? And
so my sister, you know, it's interesting because we're 10 years apart, and that's my sister, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Kisses. It's interesting because we both have different upbringings. She got to experience that with my parents, that immigrant, like poverty, like trying to make it work, struggle. Right. And when I came to the
you are our golden ticket. You will do what we need you to do because we got here so that you could have a better life.
Yeah.
Bless your sister for going through that.
Yeah. Different upbringings. And it's all now we're like a couple 2 years ago, whatever, like the whole DUI thing, whatever, like I opened up the conversation with her, like, why are we so different in this space? Like, I don't understand it, you know? And she opened up like, oh, when I was a kid, I saw a lot of this. And I was like, I never saw that growing up, you know? And it's crazy. We're sisters and same parents, but totally different upbringings.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I had a sister who was 20 years older than me, and she was from a previous marriage. And so she used to run away a lot. She would run away from California and hitchhike to Illinois, and then run away from Illinois and hitchhike to California. And she did that several times. That's the, yeah. So that's how crazy my family was, just to give you a little bit. You know, we're going to talk about roots. Let's talk about roots when we come back next week. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll talk about like some conditioned phrases, right?
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
And it's a generation, 15 to 20 years, even 10 years right there. That's like a generation. It's like a big boom. And so even though she's going to be involved with you in your life, you're going to be the little baby doll that she plays with and then puts away and doesn't want to play with no more. So that's how that's going to work.
Okay. Down for roots next Sunday.
Roots. Oh fuck. I'm not trying to appropriate anything.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because there was a series called Roots, right? So I'm not trying to appropriate anything. We're going to just look at our roots, right? Okay. See, that's a that is a white fucking bullshit statement. Do you get it?
Yeah, because I totally didn't catch it.
Right. Okay, now you're seeing how lascivious the bullshit is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm getting this feeling too of like just people like that are white or just like that European or whatever, like it feels very walking on eggshells, you know? Yeah.
When you're talking with the white people, is it?
No, just like right now, right? Like you're opening up, which is great. And like as you're sharing, it's like, oh, like I'm getting this feeling of like, oh yeah, like you always have to be, or not you have to be, but you're always aware. Like you're trying not to step on, you know, like the girls who came to your the circle, like their eggs. You're trying to make sure that in this video, you're very clear about your intentions. Right. You know, and when I talk to other people who are like in the same space, and again, like they won't share it to the rest of the world, but within our internal like conversations, it's still very much like, oh yeah, I have to let them know, or like I'm like this and like that.
Yeah. You know? I don't know why I feel so compelled to have this platform in this way, other than I know that I will do a shit ton of healing through it. Yeah. I know that I'll become a better individual. I know that I'll be able to listen better, and I won't keep putting myself in other people's shoes thinking I know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I love you too. Did you say you love me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love you too.
I know.
And I can go on forever, so you let me know.
Okay, well we're at 10:45. We have a hard stop at 10:40, so we started cleaning up about 10:30. we could do like all kinds of things. All right. But this is a great conversation, and we'll just come back next week. And I love you so much, Narita. Thank you so much for holding space for this conversation. When we talked about it, I wasn't sure what it would look like, and I knew it was going to be uncomfortable for me. And I knew that you would be like the compassionate, loving friend. And so I was like, fuck yeah. And the minute that you looked at me, you said, any questions? I was like, yeah, sure.
I love it. This is totally meant to be.
Questions.
Totally meant to be.
All right. Okay. So we'll say bye-bye for now.
Thanks for joining.
Okay. Thank you guys. Have a great, great, great day. Mwah.
Bye.